Getting 3 queens in a game of chess is so rare that most chess sets don't even give you the option. They only include 2 queens. So this is a set that I have behind me. I've got the regular queen, and then I have 1 extra queen. So if I was to need 3 queens, I'd have to take a rook and turn it upside down or something. That would be my 3rd queen. They just don't give you 3 queens because it like never happens. It's so rare. The only time that I can think of when it really happens is when you see those low rated games and somebody's kind of sacrificed all their pieces and the other person is just pushing the pawns up the board, and you get a 2nd queen and a 3rd queen and a 4th queen, and they try to turn all their pawns into queens. But what I'm going to show you today was from an actual competitive game played at the master level where I got 3 queens. So here's the position that I played just yesterday from an actual game where I promoted my 3rd queen. Now, unfortunately for me, as you can see, this happened at the end of a 3-minute game where I only had 3.3 seconds left on the clock. And on top of that, my opponent kept putting me in check, and I was trying to figure out how to get out of the checks. And by the time I figured that out, as you can see, 1.4 seconds was left on my clock. And on top of that, my opponent has all these random pawns where the king can kind of hide behind, and it's hard to figure out the checkmate with only 1 second on the clock. So what I'm going to do now is show you the game, how we led up to this position, and then we're going to see how if I was able to win or if I lost the game. Enjoy. All right, so here we go. I played e4. We had a Sicilian, and I did play my bishop b5 check lines, which I do enjoy, and I have pretty much a good amount of experience with. So knight to d7, basically what black is trying to do is play a6 at some point, force me to give up my bishop for the knight, and then recapture with their bishop. So they keep the bishop pair. And they also don't go to c6, where they give you the option to mess up their pawn structure. So they kind of, not only do they get the bishop pair, they also keep nice, pretty pawn structure. That's kind of the idea. However, I'm very comfortable with this line, and I immediately put my queen on d4, because there's no knight that can attack me on c6. So I'm not going to lose a tempo from a knight like you normally might if you try to put your queen on d4. So it's a very aggressive square, controls the g7 diagonal, as well as puts pressure here if this pawn ever moves. And so I really like to capture with the queen instead of the knight. Okay, so let's keep going. a6, I trade, and this is actually a line that I'm very familiar with, and black misplays it here. You're not supposed to go this route, I don't believe, because of the move e5 is pretty good for white in my experience. So here we go, e5, takes, and now what you notice is I have my queen and rook battery lined up on this guy. And for example, if black were to try to castle, they lose a piece here because I simply can take this. I have 1, 2, 3, and it's only defended 2 times. And so that's kind of the thing that black has to watch out for. So my opponent played bishop c6, getting out of that, offering a queen trade. I captured here, and notice black doesn't have the option to trade queens anymore, or I retreat with my knight, and I essentially got that bishop for free, right? So it forces black to capture. And then the same kind of thing over here. I take a piece, and if black tries to trade queens, again, I recapture with that piece, and I got the knight for free, okay? So it avoids a queen trade by making these 2 captures. Now, why did I want to do that? Primarily because of this move right here, queen to c5. This is a very pleasant position for white because I cut off the king and black can no longer castle. And at the same time, they can't just like deal with that because I'm threatening queen takes c6 with a fork here. Okay, so however you look at it, tough position for black to play. All right, queen to c8 was played. I think queen c7 is a little bit better. Because now it allows me the option of knight to e4 where I'm threatening the fork here with the knight. Okay, so black doesn't have too many options. They have to deal with this, and like I said, they still can't castle. You're not allowed to castle through check in chess. So bishop to e7 was played, and I hopped in with the knight, forcing black to give up the bishop. And here I think I should have taken with the queen. Yeah, because if you think about it, the best thing that I have in this position is the fact that black can't castle. I took with the rook, which is not bad, because I am threatening this, but I allow black to escape, right? The king was stuck in the center. This rook was never going to really get into the game, and I should have just kept that. That would have been so much better. So that was an oversight on my part. And I thought I was going to be fine after taking this. I kind of underestimated what was happening here, and I went for just activating my rook. And it turns out black can actually get away with taking this, and it's not a bad move. And I was just thinking, like, surely black can't do that, but they did. And I kind of had to figure out, okay, what do I do now? And so we get this kind of awkward moment in the game where I wasn't really sure what to do. I tried bringing my rook in, but I don't really have any good targets. So a lot of the times when you can get both rooks on the 7th rank, it's really powerful. But in this case, it's kind of an exception because of the way Black's rook is already positioned to defend this. Even if I were to go here, get both rooks, I'm not really doing too much. And I still kind of have the problem that Black's queen is sort of around my king. It's kind of a weird position. Like, it should be good for me, but it was kind of hard to figure out in a blitz game. So that's what I did. I put my rooks on the 7th rank because I'm like, what else can I do? Black's threatening to come down here, which looks pretty annoying for me. So I said, okay, let's stop that with c3. And let's stop that. And I didn't really know what else to do. So I said, okay, let's, bring my king forward. And maybe we try to start pushing these pawns. This is where I have the pawn majority, 3 against 1. Generally speaking, that's where you'd like to push your pawns forward because that's where you can create passed pawns. So I kind of was thinking about how to do that. I felt like a queen trade would be good for me at this point because my rooks are so active. And the biggest problem that I have is that my king is not really safe against the queen. So I tried to offer the queen trade. Of course, Black wisely declined that. We did some back and forth, and I finally said, okay, you know what? Let's go ahead and push this pawn. So here we go. This is what I was talking about. I've created 2 connected passed pawns. So this is looking pretty good. The problem, again, is Black's queen, and what is it going to do as far as continuing to put my king in check, right? So here we go. Queen goes back. Good move. He's attacking both of these things, and at first I thought I was going to lose the pawn, but then I saw that I could play rook to a7, which actually defends. Okay, so he was threatening to come in here with the queen, and I wanted to cover that, so I brought my queen back. And now I started pushing these guys, because I'm like, well, I got to do something. I'm getting a little bit lower on time. Don't really see a way to make progress with just my queen and rook. Time to use the pawns. And it got pretty tricky here, because I'm trying to not get checkmated, while at the same time advance my pawns, right? So it's not that easy. My king is very exposed. You can see Black's king is actually really safe, which is very nice for Black, right? Like, Black can just kind of tuck it over here or here somewhere if he has to, and it's hard for me to attack the king. All right, so oh, I'm so sorry. I am so sorry. Not mean to do that. Let's get back to the position. All right, so here we go. We got some back and forth, and I was actually okay with taking a draw here, but my opponent didn't want it, which makes sense. They had over double my time, and so I think they were thinking they were going to win on time. All right, we kept going, and finally, I was able to force a rook trade, which is very good, because the rook and the queen together are extremely dangerous on my open king. Like, I had to be really, really careful about what I did, right? But once a rook gets traded, the rooks get traded, the queen by itself, yes, it can check me. It's probably not going to be able to checkmate me unless the king somehow comes over to help, right? So that was, like, really good news for me, okay? So here we go. And now it's like, all right, I just have to push these pawns, and Black really isn't going to be able to stop me. The only problem, as you can see, is I have 16 seconds left, which is not a lot. So here we go. 15 seconds. I tried to force the queen trade because that's going to be really easy. And basically, I was abandoning these pawns. I didn't even care. I'm just trying to get more queens with these pawns. And you can see where this is going, right? You can see where this is going. So here we go. Pushing the pawns. And Black was being very annoying with the queen, because here's the check. And then watch what happens. Now they pin me, and I can't move because it's pinned, and it's not that easy to figure out what to do, because if I go back here, they can just check me again, and if I go here, well, then I'm blocking my own pawns. I'm like, what do I do? Let me push this one. Let me go here, trying to, again, get out of that, but of course, Black just puts me in check. So finally I said, okay, let's do it this way, and get this queen instead, all right, since that's the one that I'm able to do. So now I have 2 queens, but you can see 3.5 seconds. Pre-move that one, and pre-move that one. So now I have 3 queens on the board, but it's not over because, like I mentioned earlier, right? Look at this. Black has all these pawns and a queen. And even though I have 3 queens, they're not like super powerful. They're not like placed in a great spot. Like this queen, for example, and this queen, they're kind of doing the same thing along this rank, right? This queen, this queen, and this queen kind of doing the same thing along this diagonal. So I don't have maximum board coverage like you would want with 3 queens. You imagine if I had one, sitting over, like, I don't know, over here, and one sitting over here, and one here, like, that's going to be controlling a lot more of the board, as opposed to they're all kind of clumped in the corner. Okay, check, blocked, and basically now I'm just trying to figure out how do I get out of the checks, because the queen could be very annoying, even with against 3 queens. It could just like jump around like this, constantly putting me in check. And so you see, I had to use some time here to kind of figure this out, and finally figured out, okay, here we go, block off all 3 of those diagonals with my 3 queens, and finally my king is safe from the checks, but I have 1.4 seconds, and it's not obvious to me where the checkmate is. Of course, Stockfish sees mate in 5 instantly, but I didn't see that right away. What is the move here? Queen. Oh, yeah, this one he hung the queen. I had already pre-moved this. At least it was a check. So after he moved, I was able to then capture the queen. So here we go, 1.2 seconds, 3 queens. But is it enough to win the game? G5, there's mate in 3. But of course, with 1.2 seconds on the clock, I was just trying to pre-move. I wasn't really thinking about like where the I mean, I was looking for checkmates, but I didn't see this one, right? Like queen f2 check. Yeah, it makes sense when I'm having some time to actually think. But in the game, I'm just like pre-move, 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 like, you know, try not to lose on time. So I just move there. I move there. He's running around. I'm pre-moving my queens all over the place. Tried to come in this way. There, I finally got an aggressive queen placement. And the amazing thing about this game, pre-move, is my opponent ran out of time, not me. Right here, he ran out of time. It's kind of a weird position. It's like, okay, what do you play? Because if you push this, you get checkmated. If you go here, you get checkmated. If you know, there's checkmate any which way you look at it. So that is the first time ever in my 30+ years of playing chess that I have had 3 queens in a competitive game, right? Like some of the games that I mentioned before where it's like your opponent's not really trying, you're just pushing your pawns and getting a bunch of extra queens because you can, why not? That's different. This was a competitive game. Both of us are playing good moves, you know, trying to win. First time ever. So hope you guys enjoyed this. If you like this kind of video, you like seeing games with lots of queens, let me know. Leave a comment, hit the thumbs up, and maybe we'll do some more of this. I actually was doing some digging, and there are other games with lots of queens. But this one was special because I played it. So anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed that. And unfortunately, I didn't, you know, finish it off with the checkmate. But hey, not losing on time, I feel like was a pretty big accomplishment. See you guys next time. As always, thanks for watching. Stay sharp, play smart, and take care.